Kim,
How's everybody doing?
great.
Okay, so I'm gonna turn on my camera. I have a special guest here for everyone.
Everyone mute up.
Mr. Rowe on fire.
Hey everybody, it's Cory Booker.
Mr. Booker, how you doing, sir?
I'm really good when I'm hanging out with my cousin.
Absolutely. 100%. Miss Kim is a good friend to the show, and man,
I was
welcome.
Conversation with a whole bunch of really engaged people. It means
look,
a lot.
they got your picture up.
That is funny.
That's an old picture there.
Come on, I still look that young.
Of course he does. Football player from Stanford, grew up in and went to Stanford and things like that. How's everything out in Vegas?
It's amazing. My mom has her 85th birthday party tonight.
Oh wow.
That's Kim's aunt.
My aunt.
Yes, she's married to my mom and her dad or brother and sister.
Married.
They're brother and sister.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. And I heard that you guys took a tour of the Sphere.
We just came back from the Sphere. We just walked back in.
Give us a little rundown. What you think?
I was really impressed. It's an amazing facility, and I'm a big Vegas fan. My mom lives out here. I've been coming out here since I was a little kid, since our grandparents first took us out here to play. I still remember we went to Circus and played the great video games of the 1980s and 90s. So a little Zaxxon, a little Pac-Man, a little Miss Pac-Man. So ever since then, I've loved coming out here. I take my mom to see shows. I just took her to see Mariah Carey earlier this year. So it's just nice to come out and have a little bit of a break from my crazy world.
And my dad lives out. My dad lives out here too.
Okay, cool. Now you graduated from Stanford. What made you go to Stanford? Growing up in D.C., East Coast kid going out to the West Coast.
I was born in D.C., but I grew up in New Jersey.
Okay.
And I was really blessed. I always say I was the most overrated high school football player in history. So I was a two-position high school All-American. I had a choice of any college in the country. And I wanted to pick the college that had the best academic standing. And that year, late 80s, Stanford was ranked #1 in the country. And that's why I always say I got into Stanford because of 4.0, 1,600, 4.0 yards per carry, 1,600 receiving yards, not my grades.
Wow, what an amazing thing being on the gridiron, especially at Stanford. Academic excellence out there, and they do well sometimes, but it's more about the academics. Now,
great academic.
Was it something in particular that inspired you to get out into public service?
You know, man, if you had told me in my 20s that I was going to be an elected official, I would have laughed at you. I got out of law school and I moved to Newark to represent people who couldn't afford lawyers, to take on slumlords and do a lot of organizing against a lot of the forces that were undermining that black city, that majority black city. And we had a lot of success in my early months there. One slumlord got convicted in federal court and things were going well, but the tenant leaders called me to a meeting and said that the city was really corrupt and that we wanted to run somebody against the machine. And so I said, great, I'm happy to help. And they go, no, you're our candidate. And so I had lived in the city for about a year. And next thing you knew, I was running for city council against a guy 4 years older than me. And we upset the machine. I became the youngest person ever elected in Newark's history. And it was a city council person in my 20s and would later become mayor of the city.
Mayor of Newark. Wow. Now, when you became mayor, did you accomplish most of what you wanted to do, or did you find it difficult once you got there? Because it looks good from the outside, and then trying to get stuff done.
Yeah, I became mayor in a tough time. It was a global recession, the recession of '08. And had really impossible challenges, but we created transformative change just being really creative. So despite massive budget shortfalls and a national recession and a housing crisis, we were able to double the production of affordable housing. We were able to drive down crime. We created really a transformation in our park systems, the biggest parks expansion in Newark in over a century. We doubled the economic development overall, created tens of thousands of jobs and first new hotels and office towers in 40 years, and got the unions to agree to hire Newarkers and hire our kids in apprenticeship programs. And then we took on the school system. By the time I was, later running for president, Newark was the best school system in America for kids in poverty going on to college. And so, look, it was tough years. Some of the hardest years of my life, working around the clock. But we were able to do a lot of really great things I'm proud of. And I still live. I'm the only United States senator that lives in a inner city black neighborhood. But when I come home from the Senate, one of the best things I love to do is just drive around Newark and see the changes. And perhaps the best sign of change is after 60, 70 years of Newark losing population, people continuously leaving. By the time I left to become a United States Senator, Newark's population was booming, more people moving in than moving out because of the improvements in the school, housing, public safety, and more.
Wow, amazing. Now, once you do your career as mayor of Newark, excuse me, and then you got to make the next jump, which is, I guess, assume governor, maybe, or senator, and you decided to go for the Senate. What went into your decision to go into the Senate?
I was determined to run for governor, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And a lot of my friends came together to convince me to do otherwise. And one of the things they told me is that the Senate had very little diversity. When I got to the Senate, I was the only black person in the Democratic caucus, only the fourth black person ever elected to the United States Senate.
Right.
And they said, look, come here. You can make a big difference. You'll be surprised at what you can get done. And then if you ever want to go back and run for governor, you're young enough to do it. But you probably won't want to because you'll see that you can do things that affect the whole country if you really stick to it and really work hard. And so they were right. Their predictions were right. I ran for the Senate. I was able to win the seat. And I haven't regretted the decision, nor have I wanted to go back and be governor, even though I've had some opportunities to do so.
Right. Now, what do you think some of the biggest things that are facing New Jersey at the moment that you're trying to determine to try to make better as a senator from the great state, the Garden State?
Look, the bargain in America doesn't work like it used to. When my dad was coming up and mom was coming up, you worked hard, you played by the rules, you could excel. But Americans now, everything is more expensive than it was 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Buying a home, affording your health coverage, getting by and doing best for your kids. So what I've been doing with my career in the Senate, my decade in the Senate, is trying my best to attack these issues. We got Joe Biden to go along with expanding the child tax credit, which gave almost 90% of Americans, allowed you to keep more of your tax dollars, thousands of more of your tax dollars, cut child poverty in half. And we were unfortunately one vote shy of making that permanent. One of the biggest things in black communities that undermines us is the criminal justice system, because there's no difference in America between blacks and whites for selling marijuana or using marijuana. The blacks are more than 4 times more likely to be arrested for those things. And if you live in communities like mine in Newark, damn near 1 out of every 2 black men have had arrest records. And it's not because we commit more crime, it's because the criminal justice system isn't fair. So we've attacked that. And people don't realize if you have an arrest, forget even a conviction, getting a job, getting a loan from the bank, there's a lot of things that become very hard. As the American Bar Association says, there are 40,000 collateral consequences if you have a criminal conviction. So, we worked really hard to repeal a lot of that stuff. We got Joe Biden to pardon all simple marijuana possession charges on the federal level through the First Step Act, which we passed under Donald Trump. The legislation I helped write, thousands and thousands of people were liberated from prison. I was talking to the president a few days ago to get him, before he leaves, to pardon all the people who got caught in the crack powder cocaine disparity. So we've been able to make a lot of changes in criminal justice. We've been able to lower the cost of prescription drugs. You all know this who are on this call. Blacks are disproportionately have diabetes. Insulin rates were outrageous. We were able to get those costs capped at $35. And so I'm just really focused on issues that help people better afford the American dream and better get an access to live a life of abundance and well-being.
Wow, amazing. Now, there was a big election, if you know. I don't know if you know about it, November the 5th. And your candidate did not win. Listen, the Democratic Party, do you think the Democratic Party...
You better watch it, because that's his sister, so you better watch it, brother.
do you think that the Democratic Party is going to take an accurate autopsy of what happened and try to see a way forward in 2 years with the House and then in 4 years? And your name has been bounded about. I've heard that and read some articles about that as a possible candidate. Or is the Democratic Party going to take an accurate autopsy so that they can do better in the future?
Yeah, you know, we lump all Republicans and all Democrats as if they're monoliths and that they make decisions as a group. They're very different Republicans. You know, if you take a Republican like Cheney, for example, who was against Trump, or Mitt Romney, and put them in the same category as, you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene, it's not the same party. And the same thing with Democrats. You've got Democrats who are in the state legislatures, Democrats who are governors, Democrats who are House members. But I'm a leader in the Senate, and we are definitely taking a hard look at what happened. Now, we were able to, in the Senate races, buck history. A lot of our Senate candidates won in states where Kamala lost. And so those are people that did have the right message, despite the fact that the presidential candidate lost in their state. So this is not all a simplistic understanding of what Democrats need to do. I think the party as a whole has to simplify its message, has to talk directly to where people are, has to talk about their issues. People need a brand for our party where they really feel like Democrats have their back. And I'm going to do everything I can as a Senate Democrat to be pushing this messaging out. But I worry about people making broad brush pronouncements about the Democratic Party. It is not a monolithic party. There are a lot of Democrats who are such great champions that they win in places where other Democrats lose, or they win in places where their people split their ticket. So it's a complex, nuanced thing. But for me, the Democratic Party has got to get back to the basics. It's got to start talking to working people, to families, dealing with the issues that hit people's pocketbook, and make them really understand what I do and I see every single day, that Democrats are, when I'm in those rooms where no cameras are and the like, and I see who has corporate America's back and who is fighting for a child tax credit or the earned income tax credit. I know why I'm a Democrat, because I see where people are fighting, what they're standing up for, who listens to the lobbyists, who listens to the multinational corporations, and who really fights for the issues. And a lot of those issues are just not sexy, man. Like, you know, a lot of people don't know that, you know, Joe Biden, to my urging, wanted to get all the lead pipes out of the ground because black people disproportionately, in fact, the number one indicator of whether you drink dirty water. And remember, when Flint, Michigan happened, there were over 3,000 jurisdictions where children had more than twice the blood lead level of Flint, Michigan. 3,000 places that were worse water, quality water, mostly black and brown places. So I could go through issues like that we were able to, in the last 4 years, solve. But nobody sees those things. It's not the kind of stuff that we're communicating well, that when it came to clean water, clean air, lowering your taxes with the child tax credit, lowering your prescription drug costs, investing technology in schools, rural broadband, and other things. A lot of folks just didn't know these things and see what we were fighting for. Like, I was listening to the conversation before I jumped on. I know what happens at the Department of Justice. Right now, we have a great system, a great group of lawyers in the Civil Rights Division that investigate corrupt police departments all around the country. Trump's team is not going to prioritize that. They're not going to do police accountability. So I know these changes. Take respiratory problems. Blacks have asthma rates higher than whites, and a black child is 10 times more likely to die of an asthma attack than a white child who has an asthma attack. And I know what happened when Biden got in. We changed the clean air standard, the methane releasing, stopping polluters from polluting. As soon as Trump gets in, he'll call it in the name of regulation. He'll take all of those regulations off. Air quality in America will go down, and people with respiratory rates, whether it's emphysema or asthma, death rates will go up. So, as the only person in the Senate that lives in the black community, working class, at or below the poverty line, when I walk outside my door, when I walk around my neighborhood, I could go through the things that have changed because of the work the Democrats have done. The challenge is in the barbershop when I go there is folks just don't know this, and they don't know the challenges. They don't know the issues. Take the number one cause of death for Black people in America. The number one cause of death is diet-related diseases. And the access to healthy foods is outrageous. We have an agricultural system that literally 93% of our ag subsidies go to big multinational corporations to plant foods that go into Twinkie products or Happy Meals. Only 7% of our food subsidies go to the things our doctors tell us to eat the most of. On top of that, we allow the kind of chemicals in our foods or the kind of herbicides and pesticides to be sprayed on our foods that are banned in other countries. So my kids in Newark walk into a bodega and a Twinkie product is cheaper than an apple.
Sure.
Not because of the free market, but because our government subsidies go to everything in the Twinkie product and the processed foods and all of that. And we find it hard in communities like mine to get fresh, healthy foods.
Right.
And as a result of that, more people are dying in Black communities because of the foods we're eating and the chemicals in the foods we're eating and the lack of access to healthy foods.
Food deserts, food insecurity, as they call it.
Food deserts, food insecurity, and the fact that we have a system that is allowing these multinational corporations to literally poison us.
Right. Now, with the new administration coming in, is this going to be just 2 years of gridlock? Are any of the people's work going to be able to get done? I mean, what are you forecasting as a senator in New Jersey?
Yeah, I will always work with anybody. I don't care who you are. If there's an R next to your name, a D next to you. When it comes to fighting for people in my state, in my city, in my communities, I'll work with anybody. So under Donald Trump, I got a lot done the last time. I told you about the First Step Act that liberated thousands of people from prison. I got a bill passed called Opportunity Zones that allowed people who invested in low-income areas to get a deal on that, to get a discount on their taxes, which meant billions of dollars flowed into urban and rural areas that investors used to not invest in, creating hundreds of thousands, if not millions of jobs. So I don't think there'll be complete gridlock. I think there'll be a lot of opportunities to try to work across the aisle and get things done. But look, I'll fight you. If you come after people's health care, I'll fight you. If you come after people's Social Security, I'll fight you. If you come after, I know Trump did this the last time. He stopped enforcing work rules and overtime rules. Companies that push people to work these long hours but don't pay them their fair overtime rates. These are things that have to be enforced by the Department of Labor. But here, Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk want to cut the Department of Labor. But these are the people that enforce rules against corporations that hurt workers. So I'm just a big believer. There's no permanent friends, permanent enemies. We don't demonize people. We try to build bridges, find common ground, and get things done. But if you are doing things that hurt folks, then you're going to have a problem with me.
Right. Okay. Well, listen, Trump is in there. I'm sure you have some challenges with the cabinet that he's picking right now, trying to shake things up. Do you foresee a lot of fireworks in the Senate confirmation hearings?
Yeah, I think it might surprise you. Some people are going to pass real easy. You know, Marco Rubio will get near unanimous support to be Secretary of State.
Right.
But yeah, you know, when you try to put somebody like Cash Patel, yes.
I know criminal justice is a big thing for you. Him being over the FBI, I know he said some, not so nice things about the FBI. He might have a little more trouble, in your opinion.
Yeah, he's going to have a lot more trouble, I think, because of some of the incendiary things he said. But I just want to say to you, man, and I believe this with all my heart.
Yeah.
The forum that you've created here is so important. And Martin Luther King said the problem today is not the vitriolic words and violent actions of the bad people. It's the appalling silence and inaction of the good people. And what you're doing here is helping to keep people informed. You're creating community where people can talk and debate issues. We need more of this. And so when Kim told me, like how special this is for her, I just was really happy to be able to come on. And I hope we can do this again sometime because I've enjoyed this conversation. And I don't have to come through her channel. I can go through my TikTok channel. So I'm going to ask Kim how we could do this, every once in a while. I'd love to come on and talk about the issues of the day with you.
Absolutely. I definitely appreciate the time. And I know you're on vacation. I'm glad. I'm going to get you a You're Problematic t-shirt. You can wear that. If Trump reads it, and you can tell he's problematic. I'm going to get you. I'm going to send this to
I
Kim.
want that T-shirt. I want that T-shirt. I want it.
That's a hoodie. It's one of my originals, and
Oh, I
will
love a
send
hoodie.
you one for you to wear. Around DC and when you're back home in New Jersey and things like that, and you can let Trump read it because I'm sure you think that he is problematic.
Well, listen. When I ran for president, I remember saying this. Like, I was running for a stage in Iowa, and some big guy at the bottom of the stage says, "Dude, I want you to punch Donald Trump in the face." And I look at the guy and I go, "Dude, that's a felony, man."
Right, exactly.
Yeah, we don't do that. Like,
Right.
what are we talking about, man? And I jump up on the stage and I said, "Did Martin Luther King win in Birmingham because he brought bigger dogs and bigger fire hoses?" No, that we need to elevate our political discourse, and we need to not assume that the people who voted for the person we didn't vote for are bad people. They're good people. They're our brothers and our sisters. We need each other. The thing we should be doing is having conversations like this where we try to understand each other better and figure out. We may disagree on 5 out of the 10 things, but the other 5, let's work together on them and advance our country. And that's why I'm grateful for you, man.
Thank you. Listen, can you do me one favor?
Yes.
I want Miss Cory to ask you one question. I'm gonna look if you could take one question from Miss Cory.
There's a person named Miss Cory.
Miss Cory, she is.
Oh, I love her name. Yeah, please, Miss Cory.
I want her to ask you one question. Miss Cory.
Hi, Senator Booker. How are you?
I love your name.
I love yours too. You are my forever senator. I grew up in Camden, New Jersey.
Yes.
I grew up in New Jersey my whole life until I moved to Florida in 2018. But you are still my forever senator.
Thank you so much.
And you came to my hometown. You had the run with Cory.
Yes.
So you're putting me on the spot, Mr.Denali.
Oh, you're so smart. You can come up with something. I know you had a question. You were in the comments, in the views, whatever you want to ask.
And I'm also too, Mr. Cory. Senator Booker, a lifelong Democrat, and I'm going to remain a Democrat moving forward because I do believe that we are always on the right side of history and the issues.
Well, if I decide to run for president again, I hope you'll help me in Florida.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I have a question about voter ID.
Yes.
So we have been not losing the battle, but losing the message when it comes around voter ID. People assume that because we are hesitant about voter ID because of how we can disenfranchise voters, that we don't want voter ID because we want elections not to be fair. How do you feel about possibly pushing states so we can take this argument off the table that if states want to verify people by photo, would you be on board with just having the states put the photos of voters in the voter rolls?
Oh, wow. I never thought about that.
That way you show up and your photo is already on file. If you don't have an ID, you can still vote. And maybe they can tackle that at registration as opposed to requiring it from the voters, because anything can happen. People can lose them or they don't have them, but they still can vote in many states.
Yeah, look, this voter ID thing, there's so few examples of there ever being in-person voter fraud in America. You're more likely to be struck by lightning, maybe struck by lightning twice before you find in-person voter fraud. And so what I don't like is, like, you have these states where you can't use your student ID, but you could use your gun registration ID. They're clearly written in ways to disadvantage some voters and make it easier for other voters to vote. And so that to me is frustrating. But your idea is something new. I haven't thought about that. But I think we should be, as a people, making it as easy as possible for people to vote, make sure it's safe, legal, secure, and allow more people to vote, and not create a solution in search of a problem like we often do with our voting laws.
Absolutely. More voting, not less, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I think if we can push states to just put the photo of voters in the voter rolls, then we can take that argument off the table.
Yeah, I'm going to think about that idea, Ms. Cory.
Awesome.
Excellent. And one question from a Republican, which is the candid American, the candid one question.
Okay, last question.
Last question. I promise the last question.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Hey there, Mr. Booker. It's a pleasure meeting you.
It's nice meeting you as well. Thank you for being on.
Oh, sure thing, sure thing. So my question is, what are your views on mass deportation when Trump gets to the office, and what his agenda is as it relates to mass deportation?
I don't know exactly what he's going to do. I have a lot of concerns by this idea of mass deportation. For example, the last time Trump was president, I remember he took a father away from his family, which really has a terrible effect on American children, for a traffic violation 10 years earlier. And they use that as an excuse to deport somebody who had lived in our country for 20 years, that had a family, kid. He actually had a grandchild. It just was insane to me. So I don't know exactly what he's going to do to deport, so-called deport the millions of undocumented immigrants in our country would cost us actually billions of dollars to execute upon. So I don't know exactly what their plans are, but obviously there's some of this idea if you're going after people who have got criminal records, who've done things that are illegal in our country, I'm all for that. But this idea that you're going to take law-abiding people that are here, that are paying taxes, that are contributing to our workforce, that frankly, most business people will tell you that we need in industries, it's crazy. What we should be doing is expanding pathways to legal immigration, expanding pathways to work visas because we need the labor, and then deporting people who are committing crimes or violating our laws, and then doing things to protect the southern border. And frankly, the northern border, and most people who stay here in an undocumented fashion are visa overstays as well. We should find ways to prevent the flow of people coming in here in a way that's not documented. But America needs more workers, not less, more labor, not less. We can't suffer from the same problem that Europe is suffering from and China is suffering from, which is a declining population and therefore a declining economy. And so we've got to find common ground. And in the Senate, we've done some good work. People on both sides of the aisle have done some good work in trying to find solutions to a lot of these challenges.
Wow, amazing. Thank you, Mr. Booker. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you and give us a little insight of what's going on in the political world. Hopefully, we'll get you to come back on as a formal interview. And
I would love that. I would love that.
Give Kim a kiss on the cheek from me, Mr. Denali.
You owe me big time. Wait.
So again, Mr. Booker, thank you for coming on.
Later.
And we'll talk to you guys later. Have fun. Thank you.
No, I wasn't. I was talking to him. I was telling him I'll see him later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I'll get the give me
go get dressed.
Get me an address, and I'll send his hoodie out to him. Give me the size, and I'll get him a problematic hoodie so he can wear it, and Trump can read it, and he can tell him that he's problematic without actually telling him that he's problematic. Okay.
Yeah, I gotta ask him how does he want to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I hope everyone enjoyed this great surprise.